The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe. Ambassador Diane Kelly stood tall as she entered the Grand Galactic Council chambers on Proxima Station. The massive room stretched before her, filled with representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations. The curved walls glowed with soft blue light, and the air smelled faintly of the chemical sprays used to make the chamber breathable for all species. Diane straightened her dark blue uniform and touched the golden earth pin on her collar for luck. After 6 years as humanity's voice in this chamber, today might be her last. The weight of 4 billion lives rested on her shoulders. The Council recognizes Ambassador Kelly of Earth, announced Councillor Zixtar, the ancient Meraxi who served as the Council's arbitrator. His gray skin looked almost translucent under the lights, and his 4 eyes blinked in different patterns. A sign of stress, Diane had learned. "Thank you, arbitrator," Diane said, her voice clear and firm. "I wish to address the recent resolution passed by this council." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Behind her, Admiral Frank Warren shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The military man had argued against coming here today, believing diplomacy had failed. Maybe he was right. Earth rejects the Council's resolution restricting human expansion and technology development, Diane continued. "We cannot and will not dismantle 60% of our defense fleet. We will not submit to oversight of our colony development." A Tauran representative rose from his cushioned platform. His bull-like features twisted into what passed for a smile in his species. "The resolution passed fairly, Ambassador. Human aggression patterns are well documented. Your species expanded to 11 systems in just 40 years, faster than any civilization in Council history. We expanded into unclaimed territories," Diane countered. "Territories that were promised to us when we joined this council." The arbitrator raised a long-fingered hand. "The council has reconsidered those agreements in light of new information." "What new information?" Admiral Warren whispered. But Diane silenced him with a small gesture. She tapped her datapad, and holographic images appeared above the council floor. "These are recent scans of the Tau Ceti system, a territory promised to Earth. As you can see, Meraxi mining operations have already begun on the 3rd planet." Zixtar's skin flushed a deeper gray. "Those operations were approved under emergency resource provisions. And these?" Diane swiped to new images showing Tauran ships around Europa Prime, another promised human territory. "Are these also emergency provisions?" Senator Patricia Hudson stood up from the human delegation. As chair of Earth's Interstellar Relations Committee, her presence added weight to this meeting. "For 3 years, we've documented 17 violations of territorial agreements. Each time, our protests were dismissed or buried in committees." A Centaurian delegate waved his tentacles dismissively. "Human paranoia is well known. You see, enemies where there are only administrative delays." Diane felt her patience wearing thin. 6 years of condescension, of being treated like children who didn't understand how the galaxy worked. 6 years of watching other species take what was promised to humans. "This isn't paranoia," she said. "It's pattern recognition. The Council treats humans as second-class members. We've fulfilled every membership requirement, contributed to joint scientific and cultural projects, and still, you've also developed weapon systems outside Council guidelines," interrupted a Phylaxian representative, her insect-like mandibles clicking with agitation. "Human ships carry railgun technology specifically prohibited under Section 87 of the Non-Proliferation Agreement." Admiral Warren couldn't stay silent any longer. "Those weapons are defensive. The Krell pirate attacks on New Boston Colony killed 300 civilians before we installed those systems." Diane placed a calming hand on the Admiral's arm, but she shared his frustration. Every human action was viewed with suspicion, while other species received exceptions and understanding. The chamber grew louder as representatives began talking over each other. Some defended humans, but most voiced concerns about Earth's unpredictable aggression patterns and evolutionary tendency toward violence. Zixtar struck his staff against the floor 3 times, restoring order. "The Council has voted. The resolution stands." Human expansion will be limited to current territories. Military capabilities will be reduced to Council-approved levels. Oversight committees will be established on all human worlds. A cold silence fell over the human delegation. Diane looked at the faces around her. Senator Hudson's quiet anger, Admiral Warren's barely controlled rage, the junior diplomat's shock. She had one card left to play. One final option that President Bennett had authorized only as a last resort. "Then Earth has no choice," Diane said, her voice echoing in the sudden silence. "As the duly appointed representative of the United Earth Government, I hereby formally announce our withdrawal from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." Gasps and shouts erupted around the chamber. In 300 years, no species had ever left the Council. "Ambassador, this is most irregular," Zixtar began, but Diane cut him off. "Our treaty of membership specifically allows withdrawal with immediate effect if a member believes their sovereignty is threatened. Article 12, Section 4. Admiral Warren stood and placed a small device on the center of their delegation table. It projected a glowing blue Earth seal that slowly faded, the formal symbol of withdrawal. "Humans will defend their territories," he said gruffly. "Any incursion will be considered an act of war." Senator Hudson stepped forward. "This isn't what we wanted. Earth believed in the Council's mission of peace and cooperation between species. But cooperation must be built on respect and trust, something we've never truly received here." Diane gathered her datapad and nodded to her delegation. "We will begin evacuation of all human personnel from Council territories within 24 hours. We expect the same courtesy for Council representatives on human worlds." As they walked toward the exit, Diane noticed different reactions among the Council members. Some seemed relieved, others worried, a few genuinely sad. The Arcturian representative, always friendly to humans, made a gesture of peace as they passed. At the massive doorway of the Council chamber, Diane turned back one last time. "Remember this day," she said quietly. "The day humanity stopped asking for respect and decided to earn it instead." The doors closed behind them with a final heavy thud. In the corridor, Admiral Warren finally allowed himself a small smile. "President Bennett will be pleased you didn't punch anyone," he said. "The day's not over yet," Diane replied as they headed toward the docking bay where the Earthship waited. "This isn't the end, Frank. It's just the beginning." As their shuttle pulled away from Proxima Station, Diane watched the massive structure grow smaller against the backdrop of stars. Humanity was on its own now. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. What none of them knew, not the humans, not the Council, was that something was stirring at the edge of known space. Something that would make this day of separation more significant than anyone could possibly imagine. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe. President Laura Bennett looked out the tall windows of the Earth Capitol building in New Geneva. The city below bustled with activity, but there was a new tension in the air. News of Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council had spread quickly. Some citizens celebrated their independence, others worried about what would come next. "Madam President, they're ready for you," said an aide, gesturing toward the meeting room. Laura nodded and straightened her jacket. 6 days had passed since Ambassador Kelly and her team returned from Proxima Station. 6 days of planning humanity's new path forward. The meeting room contained Earth's most important leaders. Ambassador Kelly sat beside Admiral Warren, both looking tired but determined. General Henry Martinez, head of Earth Defense Forces, studied a holographic display of human territories. Dr. Alan Cooper, the brilliant physicist whose work on propulsion systems had worried the Council, tapped nervously on a datapad. Sophia Grant, Director of Intelligence, waited quietly in the corner. "Let's begin," Laura said as she took her seat. "Director Grant, what have you learned?" Sophia stepped forward and activated the main screen. "Our agents have confirmed what we suspected. Several Council races have been planning to contain humanity for decades. Images appeared showing secret meetings, intercepted communications, and classified Council documents. This one is from 8 years ago," Sophia continued, highlighting a document. The Meraxi and Torans created a joint committee called Human Evolutionary Concern. Their stated goal was to study and limit human expansion for the safety of the galaxy. Admiral Warren snorted. Safety of the galaxy? They were just afraid we would eventually become stronger than them. Exactly, Sophia agreed. And this is why. She displayed another image showing technological growth curves for various species. The human line rose, much more steeply than the others. They've been watching our development closely. They know how quickly we adapt. Dr. Cooper cleared his throat. Speaking of adaptation, my team has made a breakthrough. The physicist's eyes lit up with excitement. Remember the FTL limitations the Council placed on all ships, claiming faster speeds were dangerous to space-time? He pressed a button, and a complex diagram appeared. It was all a lie. There's no danger. My team has developed an engine that can travel 5 times faster than Council regulations allow. Laura leaned forward. Are you certain? Absolutely, Dr. Cooper replied. We tested a prototype secretly last month. The Council has been deliberately suppressing this technology to control expansion rates. The room went quiet as everyone absorbed this information. Ambassador Kelly finally broke the silence. This explained so much. They weren't just being cautious, they were keeping us contained. General Martinez stood up and walked to the holographic map. We need to strengthen our defenses immediately. Every colony world needs protection. He pointed to several locations. These outer colonies are most vulnerable. Already in progress, Admiral Warren said. I've deployed ships to all border systems, and I've activated our hidden defense platforms. President Bennett raised an eyebrow. Hidden platforms? The Admiral looked slightly embarrassed. After the Krell attacks 3 years ago, we began placing automated defense systems near all colonies. The Council would have forbidden it, so we kept them inactive and off official records. Rather than being angry at this secret program, Laura nodded with approval. It seems your caution was justified. She turned to Ambassador Kelly. Have any Council members reached out since our departure? 3 smaller species have sent private messages of support, Diane replied. The Arcturians, Balerians, and Novan, Union, all younger members who felt marginalized by the Council. They're interested in forming separate alliances with us. Good, Laura said. We'll need friends. Sophia Grant cleared her throat. There's something else you should know. The Meraxi and Toran forces have begun military exercises near the border of human space. They claim it's routine training, but the timing is suspicious. General Martinez frowned. It's an intimidation tactic. They want to show strength, make us nervous. Let them, Admiral Warren said confidently. Our ships are ready, and with Dr. Cooper's new engines, we can move faster than they expect if trouble starts. President Bennett listened carefully to her advisors. The situation was dangerous but also filled with possibilities. For too long, humans had played by rules designed to keep them down. Now they could chart their own course. Here's what we'll do, she said finally. First, we accelerate all defense preparations. General Martinez, you have full authority to protect our worlds. The general nodded firmly. Second, Dr. Cooper, I want those new engines installed on our key ships immediately. If the Council has been lying about this technology, what else have they hidden from us? The scientist smiled. My team is already working on several other projects that were restricted by Council regulations. Good. Third, Ambassador Kelly, open formal alliance talks with the 3 friendly species, but keep channels quietly open with any Council members willing to speak with us. We don't need to make more enemies. Diane nodded. Some Council members were genuinely upset by our departure. They might serve as bridges later. And finally, Laura continued, Director Grant, I want to know everything. If the Council makes any move against us, I want advance warning. Of course, Madam President, Sophia replied. As the meeting concluded, Laura felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. 4 billion humans on Earth and another 2 billion on colony worlds were counting on her leadership. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in decades, humanity was truly in control of its own destiny. Unknown to the humans, at that very moment, a Meroxy science vessel at the edge of charted space was picking up strange readings. The captain decided the unusual energy signatures weren't important enough to report immediately. It was a decision the entire galaxy would soon regret. On a small farming settlement on New Dakota, one of Earth's most distant colonies, night was falling. The settlers were simple people who didn't care much about galactic politics, but as darkness covered the fields, unusual lights appeared in the sky. No one recognized the ship design. No one knew these weren't council visitors. The first attack of the Vrixna had begun, and the galaxy was about to change forever. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe, Governor Paul Jackson of New Dakota Colony, stood in the ruined fields outside the main settlement. Smoke still rose from several buildings. The attack had come without warning. 3 days ago, strange ships had appeared in the night sky, firing energy weapons at the colony's infrastructure. If not for the hidden defense system that Admiral Warren had installed months earlier, everyone would be dead. How many did we lose? Paul asked, his voice heavy with grief. His assistant consulted a tablet. 27 confirmed dead, sir. 42 injured. But it could have been much worse. Paul nodded grimly. The automated defense platforms had activated immediately when the alien ships opened fire. Those platforms weren't supposed to exist according to Council regulations. Now they had saved thousands of lives. Any word from Earth Command? Yes, sir. The USS Defiant is on approach. Commander Morrison will be landing within the hour. Paul looked up at the sky. Help was coming. But who had attacked them? And why? Light years away, Commander Eliza Morrison stood on the bridge of the scout ship USS Defiant. Her crew worked quietly around her, still processing what they had discovered. Show me the scans again, she ordered. Chief Engineer Sam Ortiz tapped his console, and a holographic display appeared. This is the fleet we detected, Commander. At least 30 ships with a massive mothership at the center. They're on a direct course toward Council space. Eliza studied the images with concern. These ships matched the description of those that had attacked New Dakota. But this wasn't a small raiding party. This was an invasion force. And they're not responding to any communication attempts? No, ma'am, replied her communications officer. We've tried all standard frequencies and protocols. Nothing. Eliza made her decision. Plot a course back to Earth. Maximum speed. They need this information immediately. Sam cleared his throat. Commander, I've made some modifications to our engines. We can get there in half the time if you're willing to bend the rules a bit. Eliza smiled slightly. Sam's modifications were rarely official but always effective. Do it, this can't wait. As the Defiant jumped to FTL speed, emergency alarms were already blaring across Council space. 3 outer Council worlds had been attacked by unknown forces. The response was chaotic. Council defense protocols required approval from multiple committees before significant military action could be taken. On Proxima Station, an emergency session of the Galactic Council was underway. Representatives argued loudly over how to respond to the crisis. The attacks must be the work of humans, shouted the Tauran representative. They left the council and now seek revenge. Councillor Zix Tar struck his staff on the floor for order. We have no evidence of human involvement. In fact, a human colony was also attacked. Convenient, muttered another delegate. A false flag operation. As the debate continued without resolution, a junior aide rushed in and whispered urgently to Zixtar. The arbitrator's 4 eyes widened with surprise. The council will pause these proceedings, he announced. We have received an unexpected communication. The large screen at the front of the chamber activated, showing the face of President Laura Bennett of Earth. Greetings, Councillor Zixtar, she said formally. I understand your outer worlds have been attacked by unknown vessels. Murmurs spread through the chamber at this confirmation that Earth knew of their situation. We have information about these attackers, Laura continued. One of our scout ships has discovered their main fleet. They are not a known species to us, and they do not respond to communication attempts. We believe they represent a significant threat to all civilized worlds. Zixtar stepped forward. Why are you sharing this information with us, President Bennett? Earth has left the Council. Because this threat concerns all of us, she replied simply. We've already lost 27 people on New Dakota Colony. Our scout ship tracked the attacking vessels back to a much larger fleet. Their trajectory shows they're heading toward the densely populated Council core systems. The chamber erupted, with alarmed voices. Zixtar called for silence. What do you propose? He asked cautiously. A joint defense effort, Laura said. The enemy fleet will reach Council space in approximately 6 days. Even with your combined forces, the Council, military response protocols will take too long to organize an effective defense. Several Council members shifted uncomfortably, knowing she was right. Council military action required approval from 3 separate committees, a process that often took weeks. We are prepared to send ships to assist, Laura continued. But we will only do so as equals, not as subjects. We will not submit to Council military command or restrictions on our defense capabilities. The Tauran representative rose angrily. This is blackmail. You would use this crisis to force concessions from the Council. This is survival, Laura corrected firmly. You can accept our help on equal terms, or you can follow your protocols and watch worlds burn while committees debate. The choice is yours. Zixtar conferred quietly with several senior Council members. Finally, he turned back to the screen. We require proof of these claims before making any decision. Transmitting now, Laura replied. The main screen split to show detailed scans of the alien fleet, along with footage from the attack on New Dakota. The evidence was clear and frightening. Meanwhile, the USS Defiant had arrived at New Dakota. Commander Morrison surveyed the damage as Governor Jackson led her through the settlement. The defense platforms saved us, Paul explained. If Admiral Warren hadn't installed them against Council regulations. Eliza nodded. The Council has always underestimated human preparation. They call it paranoia. We call it survival. They reached a secure building where something large was covered by a tarp. We managed to bring down one of their small craft, Paul said, pulling away the covering to reveal a strange angular ship. No pilot inside. Some kind of drone, we think. Eliza examined it carefully. This technology is unlike anything I've seen. Not Krell, not Council. Something completely new. Her communicator beeped. Commander Morrison, incoming transmission. From Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Eliza answered immediately. Morrison here. Admiral Warren's voice came through clearly. Commander, return to Earth with that drone craft immediately. Earth and the Council have agreed to a temporary alliance against this new threat. They're calling themselves the Vrixna. Multiple Council worlds are under attack now. Understood, sir. We'll leave within the hour. At Proxima Station, the Council. Session continued with heated debate. Some species were still suspicious of human intentions, while others desperately wanted Earth's military assistance. We cannot trust them, insisted the Phylaxian representative. This could be an elaborate human deception. As if in answer to his accusation, alarms blared throughout the station. A junior officer rushed into the chamber. Counselors, 3 Vrixna. Battleships have just appeared in the system. They're on an attack vector toward this station. Panic spread through the chamber as the reality of the situation became clear. Counselor Zixtar looked at the image of President Bennett, still on the screen. How quickly can your ships reach Proxima Station? He asked quietly. Laura Bennett's expression was grim but determined. The first human vessels will arrive within 6 hours. Try to hold until then, the day that humans departed the Galactic. Council was now the day the entire galaxy faced extinction, unless former enemies could learn to fight as allies. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe. Fleet Admiral Nicole Weber stood on the bridge of the EDF Intrepid, Earth's largest battleship. Through the view screen, she watched as her fleet dropped out of FTL near Proxima Station. The sight that greeted them was chaotic. 3 Vrixna battleships were firing on the station, while Council defense vessels struggled to protect it. "Battle stations," she ordered calmly. "All ships, engage the enemy. Priority is protecting the station." Around her, the bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. This was humanity's first major battle since leaving the Council, and they had something to prove. "Ma'am," called her tactical officer, Lieutenant William Chen, "the Council ships are using standard formation patterns. The Vrixna have already adapted to their tactics." Nicole nodded. The Council military had always relied on set strategies and formations, effective against known threats but predictable against new ones. "Then we'll be unpredictable. Execute maneuver Delta 7. The human fleet suddenly split into 3 smaller groups, approaching from different vectors. The Vrixna ships, focused on the Council defenders and the station, didn't react quickly enough. "Fire all forward batteries," Nicole commanded. The space around Proxima Station lit up as human weapons struck the alien vessels. These weapons, many of them developed in secret and beyond Council regulations, hit with devastating force. On one of the Council defense ships, Supreme Commander Krithal watched in astonishment as the human vessels executed maneuvers his people considered recklessly dangerous. "They're flying too close to the enemy," he muttered. "It's suicide." But as he watched, he saw the effectiveness of the human approach. By closing distance, the Earth ships avoided the long-range weapons of the Vrixna while bringing their own, shorter-range weapons to bear. Krithal turned to his communications officer. "Contact the human flagship. Tell them we will follow their lead." It was not an easy admission for the proud military leader, but survival outweighed pride. On the Intrepid, Lieutenant Chen received the communication with surprise. "Admiral, the Council forces are requesting tactical coordination. They want to follow our lead." A small smile crossed Nicole's face. "Send them our attack pattern. Let's show them how humans fight." Within minutes, the combined forces of Earth and the Council had destroyed one Vrixna ship and badly damaged another. The third began to retreat. "Do we pursue, Admiral?" asked her executive officer. Nicole considered for a moment. "No. Station protection comes first. Let it run." As the immediate threat subsided, Nicole prepared to board Proxima Station. This temporary alliance was fragile, and much remained to be discussed. In a large conference room on the station, human and Council military leaders gathered around a holographic display showing the position of the main Vrixna fleet. "They've attacked 7 worlds so far," reported a Council intelligence officer. 4 Council worlds and 3 human colonies. Their fleet is moving toward the Council core systems. Admiral Weber studied the display. "Their attack pattern isn't random. They're testing defenses, learning our capabilities before committing their main force." Supreme Commander Krithal nodded reluctantly. "A sound assessment. The question is how to stop them." "We need to coordinate our forces," Nicole replied, "but Council military protocols will slow our response time." Krithal bristled slightly. "Those protocols ensure proper consideration of all factors." "Those protocols will get us all killed," Nicole countered bluntly. "The Vrixna adapt quickly. We need to be faster and more flexible." Lieutenant Chen, who had been analyzing the battle data, spoke up. "Admiral, I've been studying their communication patterns. There appears to be a central control signal from their mothership to all other vessels." All eyes turned to the young tactical officer. "Explain," ordered Krithal. William brought up new data on the display. "During our engagement, I noticed that the Vrixna ships acted in perfect coordination. Too perfect. I think they're being controlled centrally, perhaps by artificial intelligence." Nicole's eyes lit up with understanding. "If we could disrupt that control signal, we could throw their entire fleet into disarray," Krithal finished, newly respectful. On the other side of the station, communications specialist Greg Dawson was working tirelessly in a makeshift lab. The drone ship recovered from New Dakota had been brought to Proxima Station, and Greg had been tasked with analyzing its communication systems. "There's something strange about their signal encoding," he muttered to himself. The patterns were unlike anything in human or Council records. A council science officer working nearby looked over with interest. "What have you found?" Greg pointed to his screen. "Look at this frequency modulation. It shifts in a predictable pattern every 3.7 seconds. The council scientists studied the data. This could be a vulnerability. If we could broadcast an interfering signal on the same shifting pattern," Greg nodded excitedly, "we could disrupt their entire command structure." Back in the conference room, the tactical discussion had turned to the upcoming battle. The main Vrixna fleet would reach the Centauri system, home to billions of council citizens, within 20 hours. "We need to deploy immediately," Nicole insisted. "Every available ship." Krathal shook his head. "The Council Defense Committee hasn't approved full deployment. They're still debating the approach." Nicole slammed her hand on the table in frustration. "While they debate, people will die." The tension in the room was broken when both their communicators beeped simultaneously. "Admiral Weber," Nicole answered. "Supreme Commander," Krathal said into his device. They received the same message from different sources. The Vrixna fleet had suddenly accelerated. They would reach the Centauri system in 10 hours, not 20. "We're out of time," Nicole said, grimly. "I'm deploying all human ships now, with or without council approval." Krathal stood silent for a long moment, facing a difficult choice. Finally, he straightened to his full height. "I will deploy all council ships under my direct command," he announced. "I will face the consequences later." "Thank you, Commander," Nicole said sincerely. As they prepared to return to their ships, Greg Dawson burst into the conference room breathless with excitement. "Admiral, Commander, we found a way to disrupt their coordination signals." Nicole and Krathal exchanged looks. For the first time, a glimmer of hope appeared in this desperate situation. As ships from Earth and the Council raced toward the Centauri system, the largest combined fleet in galactic history was forming. Species that had distrusted each other for centuries were now fighting side by side. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Admiral Weber received a transmission from Earth. President Bennett appeared on screen. "Admiral, the Council has formally requested that Earth lead the defense of the Centauri system," she said, unable to hide her surprise. "They've acknowledged that our unpredictable tactics are more effective against this enemy." Nicole nodded solemnly. "We won't let them down, Madam President." As the human fleet entered the Centauri system ahead of the Council forces, they found the Vrixna already beginning their attack. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy had begun. In their haste to reach the battle, no one had noticed a small detail in the analysis of the Vrixna communications. Hidden deep in their signal patterns was a message, repeated over and over. Not a message of conquest, but of desperation. The Vrixna weren't invading. They were fleeing from something far worse. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe. The battle over Centauri Prime had raged for 6 hours. The combined human and Council fleet fought desperately against the Vrixna forces. Despite their courage, ships were being lost at an alarming rate. The Vrixna mothership remained untouched, protected by layers of smaller vessels. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Admiral Nicole Weber watched the tactical display with growing concern. Her uniform was torn, and a cut on her forehead had left dried blood on her face. The ship had taken heavy damage, but was still fighting. "We can't break through their defensive screen," Lieutenant Chen reported grimly. "Every time we destroy one ship, they adjust their formation." Nicole nodded. They needed something to change the equation. Her communicator beeped. "Admiral, this is Greg Dawson. I've completed the disruption signal, but there's a problem." "What kind of problem, Specialist?" Greg's voice was tense. "It has to be transmitted from close range, inside their defensive screen. Someone needs to get a ship right next to the mothership." Nicole looked at the tactical display again. Getting a ship through the Vrixna defense would be nearly impossible. "What's the minimum size vessel needed to carry the transmitter?" she asked. "A shuttle could do it, but it would never make it through their defenses alone." Nicole's mind raced, considering options. Then she saw it. A desperate plan, but one that might work. Lieutenant Chen, Prepare a strike team. We're going to open a path to that mothership. Within minutes, Nicole had shared her plan with Supreme Commander Krathal. The council leader was shocked. This is madness. You would sacrifice that many ships just to create a diversion? Not a diversion, Nicole corrected. A genuine attack. We hit them with everything we have on one vector. Yes, we'll lose ships, but we'll punch a hole in their formation. Meanwhile, a small, fast shuttle can slip through carrying Dawson's transmitter. Krathal stared at her. The shuttle crew would not survive. That's why I'm leading it myself, Nicole said quietly. Before Krathal could respond, an alert sounded. 3 more Vrixna battlecruisers had appeared, joining the fight. The situation was growing more desperate by the minute. Very well, Krathal finally agreed. But I will commit my flagship to lead the attack formation, and I will coordinate with your Lieutenant Chen. Nicole was surprised by the offer. Thank you, Commander. As preparations were made, Greg Dawson worked furiously to prepare the disruption device. When Nicole entered his lab, he barely looked up. It's almost ready, Admiral, but there's something you should see. He showed her his screen, where he had been analyzing the Vrixna communication patterns more deeply. I don't think they're invaders, he said. Look at these message fragments I've decoded. They keep repeating phrases that translate roughly to escape and following and help. Nicole frowned. You think they're running from something? It appears so, but they're desperate, attacking worlds to gather resources quickly. They don't care who gets hurt in the process. This new information didn't change their immediate situation, but it might be important later, if they survived. Within an hour, the combined attack force was ready. Nicole stood in the shuttle bay with her small volunteer crew, the disruption device secured aboard their craft. The main fleet will attack in 3 minutes, she told them. When they create the opening, we launch and fly straight for the mothership. No deviations, maximum speed. Her communicator beeped one last time. It was President Bennett. Admiral Krathal has informed me of your plan. It's extremely risky. Yes, Madam President, but it's our best chance. There was a pause before Laura spoke again. Good luck, Nicole. Earth is counting on you. The attack began with a massive coordinated strike. Human and council ships, flying in formations designed by Lieutenant Chen, hit the Vrixna line with unprecedented force. The aliens, despite their superior numbers, were momentarily overwhelmed by the ferocity of the assault. There's our opening, Nicole told her pilot. Go now. The shuttle launched, accelerating to maximum speed. All around them, the space battle raged. Massive ships exchanged fire. Fighters dueled between the capital ships, and debris floated from destroyed vessels of all sides. Through it all, the small shuttle flew, evading detection as it aimed for the heart of the Vrixna fleet. As they approached the mothership, an alert sounded in their craft. We've been spotted, the pilot called out. Enemy fighters approaching. Evasive maneuvers, but maintain course to the target, Nicole ordered. The shuttle rocked as energy weapons fire grazed their hull. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. Shields failing, reported an engineer. We can't take another hit. They were close now, the massive Vrixna mothership filling their view screen. It was an enormous vessel, unlike anything humans or the Council had ever built. 60 seconds to transmission range, Greg announced, his fingers flying over the disruption device controls. A Vrixna fighter appeared directly ahead, blocking their path. Brace for impact, Nicole shouted as their pilot aimed directly at the enemy craft. The shuttle clipped the fighter's wing, sending both vessels spinning. Alarms blared throughout the human craft as systems failed. We're hit bad, the pilot reported, struggling with the controls. But we'll make it to position. 30 seconds, Greg called out. On the main battlefield, the combined fleet was taking heavy losses. Lieutenant Chen and Krathal coordinated their forces brilliantly, but they were being slowly overwhelmed. We can't hold much longer, Chen reported to the command ship. We must give the Admiral more time, Krathal insisted. Aboard the damaged shuttle, Nicole watched as they drifted toward the perfect transmission position. Systems were failing all around them. Life support was damaged and the cabin was growing cold. 10 seconds to optimal position, Greg announced. Device powering up. Nicole looked out at the Vrixna mothership. For a moment, she thought she saw movement on its surface, not mechanical but almost organic. 5 seconds. The shuttle's remaining engine failed. 3, 2, 1, transmitting. The disruption signal broadcast outward, aimed directly at the mothership. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, across the battlefield, Vrixna ships suddenly stopped firing. Their perfect formations dissolved as ships drifted aimlessly or flew in random directions. "It's working," Chen exclaimed on the Intrepid. "Their coordination is breaking down." With the Vrixna fleet in disarray, the combined human and council forces pressed their advantage. Ship after ship was disabled or destroyed. Even the mighty mothership seemed paralyzed, its defenses inactive. 3 hours later, it was over. The Vrixna fleet had been defeated. Those ships that could still flee had jumped away, but most had been captured or destroyed. Nicole Weber's shuttle had been recovered, though badly damaged. The admiral and her crew had survived, protected by emergency suits when their life support failed. 1 week later, a very different gathering took place in the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers. Ambassador Diane Kelly, now joined by Admiral Weber and President Bennett, stood before the assembled representatives of all spacefaring species. Counselor Zixtar struck his staff on the floor to begin the session. "This council recognizes the delegation from Earth," he announced formally. "We are here to discuss a new treaty and Earth's position within galactic society." Diane stepped forward. "Thank you, arbitrator. The people of Earth are willing to rejoin the galactic community, but as equals, not as junior members subject to special restrictions." Around the chamber, most representatives nodded in agreement. The battle had changed everything. Human unpredictability and aggression were now seen as valuable traits, not dangerous flaws. "We offer a full partnership," Zixtar said. "Seats on all council committees, particularly defense and technology. Your colonies will be formally recognized and protected." As the details were discussed, Dr. Alan Cooper shared his FTL innovations with council scientists, leading to excitement about a new era of exploration. Admiral Weber and Krithal discussed the formation of a joint defense force with humans in key leadership roles. At the end of the session, Zixtar approached Diane privately. "I must confess something, Ambassador," the Meraxi said quietly. "Many of us feared humans not because you were dangerous, but because you represented what each of our species could become if we embraced both compassion and strength. We were afraid of our own potential," Diane smiled. "Perhaps that's what we can teach each other going forward." As Earth rejoined a transformed galactic society, scholars would later mark this period as a turning point in history. The day humans departed the Galactic Council was the day the universe learned what strength really means. Not domination or rigid control, but adaptability, cooperation, and the courage to embrace change. And as for the Vrixna? Research into Greg Dawson's discoveries continued. What were they running from? That question remained unanswered, a mystery for another day, and perhaps another battle that would require all the strength the United Galaxy could muster.